Hey all, I'm not here to produce any exciting sort of content, but did want to talk about something in particular, and that is people with disabilities. As a woman who's 40 years old and has both ADHD and autism, I just wanted to highlight some of the struggles that we do have that might help some parents who are struggling with their own children with disabilities. So I've been fairly ignorant to disabilities myself in my life. Growing up, I was only diagnosed with ADHD when I was a teenager. However, autism was something that came along far later in life, and that is because our understanding of autism at the time, was strictly related back to boys and how it's expressed within boys, and that's just the norm. But things have changed drastically, and a lot of the language is still based on neurotypical observations that really don't make sense to a neurodivergent person. And so there are still so many people who are going to see the essentially the wrong people. If you want to get diagnosed, it's not gonna it's gonna be really hard through a neurotypical person because they just don't really understand the way you communicate. The way that autistic people in particular communicate is very direct and straightforward, and so there's no vibes about it. It's just pure language and the meanings behind each word. Everything we say is carefully crafted in a way that we run through, the exact definitions and how the words are used in English. The crazy thing is, I've been misunderstood my whole life. However, I was always the top of my class, and that came down to, um, you know, English literature, that came to language arts, that came to all of that. So my grammar was phenomenal, and just there's just a very deep misunderstanding between neurodivergent people and neurotypical people, and so we already have that a lot of uh, I guess, walls up against us in place already. And then, we're always so deeply misunderstood. Although we're, most if we're verbal or speaking the clearest form of language that does exist in which we've been taught. Now, I want to say that because we do struggle sometimes to verbalize our thoughts, which is a thing, there is a barrier to me. It is the way I can make it make most sense to people or simplify it is think about it as like multiple sclerosis. Your brain is sending a signal to your body, but it's not moving. So I might, if somebody has MS, they might want to move their arm. Their brain's trying, but the signal gets cut off somewhere, and they can't actually move. They become disabled in that way, and it's very much like that with an autistic person. We know exactly the point we want to get across, but we cannot get the words out. And so there just seems to be some sort of barrier that exists there. And so that's the easiest way I can put it. Now, if you have a nonverbal child, I will say this: it is very ignorant to assume that they are, slow in any way, shape, or form just because they cannot verbally communicate. The thing is, they're actually trapped in hell. You're fully conscious, fully aware within your body and in your brain, and you cannot communicate. You've been placed on, stuck in this trap of a body on this planet that wasn't made for you, and are not able to get your words out. And the way that I say that I've been ignorant to disabilities myself is just because in the past, I have volunteered to lead a book club for people with, um, I think it's Down syndrome, and there's the same sort of, a lot of those people are encountering the same sort of language disabilities as well. When they can be insanely smart, but you're all kind of put in this group where everybody, kind of assumes you're slow or whatnot, and that is not the case. And so I came to learn through my time in the book club that, because I was always told too, as everybody is, like with people with disabilities, like you're just slow, but that's not the truth. You're just disabled in some way, shape, or form. And when it comes to communication, you can't express it, so you can't tell people in the way that you're struggling. And I thought, I just learned a lot from volunteering, and seeing like, oh my gosh, there are some these people here are freaking phenomenal. They're geniuses. They can read way faster than any like buddy like in my just your average group of neurotypicals can, and that's not meant to be offensive, but I just want to let you know that if you do have a nonverbal child, they're living in literal hell. They cannot express their needs, and it is that's the only way that I can put it. It is hell. And then a lot of times, because there are behavioral issues, because can you imagine for yourself what it would be like to be trapped and not to be able to be trapped in your own body, and have all the tools you would essentially think to be able to express yourself, but not be able to. It You're constantly uncomfortable. And not only that, too, when it comes down to autism, you do have you're extra sensitive to like just anything sensory, the light, temperature, just stuff that does not bother neurotypical people at all causes such deep discomfort. Like me being cold, I'd rather be dead, to be honest with you. It makes me that miserable. And people might say it's dramatic or whatever, but you don't know what it feels like, because to me, that resonates as pain. It's physical fucking pain. And so just because somebody might be like, oh, they're dramatic, it's because you don't understand. And if you got a kid who's acting up wildly, there's something going on with them. And it's not that just them being unruly, there's some sort of hell that they're living in, and you need to find a way. You need to do whatever it takes to help them be able to communicate. And there are tools and there are things out there. Explore and exhaust every option available, but to realize if they're throwing a tantrum or a fit, it's not for no reason. And so I finally found a voice of some sort. But and I watched a funny video earlier. Guy was just like, maybe just let that motherfucker out and go live in the wild. And honestly, they would probably be better off. And as much as I could laugh at it too, I was like, shit, they'd probably be a lot fucking happier than being trapped in a house or whatever cages you fucking got them in or whatever, because their needs aren't being met. And that's just the truth of the matter. Their needs are not being met. And I'm just now in a place in my life that because I'm retired now, that my basic needs are finally being met. I've never been able to sleep on my own schedule, eat on my own schedule, do anything that I need to do to be able to tend to or cater to my own basic needs. And it's hard to go past any of your basic needs or grow or develop as a person. You just can't. Look up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's something that explains it all. I mean, essentially for me, it's always been like that makes perfect sense. You're never going to be your best self if you don't even have your base needs being met. And I guarantee that's going on with your nonverbal child. So, and this isn't just point fingers or do whatever, but y'all didn't design this world to meet our needs. It's all designed around neurotypicals. And so we are being neglected and being harmed in just any given day, moment, whatever, that you force us to live in the way that works for you. So I just want to leave it at that. Um, and again, this isn't just to, make anybody feel bad. Hopefully it helps. Hopefully it helps. And with the right nurturing and everything, like you could find out what a freaking genius your kid is. Like, because a lot of autistic kids are just brilliant. They're just trapped in their mind. And it's the worst possible place to be trapped, especially if you're ultra sensitive. And, most autistic people are in some way, shape, or form. I can't speak for everybody, but I can just share my own experiences. But I hope it helps. And, I feel compassion for you, and I know it's hard, but we got to step outside of your own box and your own thinking and realize that you need to change to be able to fit their needs and not yours. So thanks for listening and take care.